Dana splashed the proverbial cold water on the idea of Paddy versus Ilia, which, by the way, if that happened in the year 2025, would be the biggest pay-per-view of 2025. And it would have come in number 1 or number 2, and it either would have beat out or just lost to Jones Aspinall. But with that off the table, Paddy versus Ilia would be the biggest event of 2025. So why would Dana put the cold water on it? It was open to interpretation. First off, am I ahead of myself? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? So the end of the night comes, pay-per-view. Paddy jumps the rail, storms the cage, gets face-to-face with Ilia. Now, Ilia has proven that he's good with the physical. But the question is, how's he do with the mental? Because Paddy will get in your head. Now, I will tell you, as a guy that got in people's head, it helps, but I will admit, it only helps this much. But this is what championships are won by. Championship is just a little bit. And then if it turns out that you got better skill, which we don't know until they actually get in there, well, it opens the gap. It's a very real thing if you can fluster a guy ahead of time. Now, how do you know? How do you know if he's flustered? Well, I'll tell you. If he breaks. If two guys come face to face, if they complete their interview, no one broke. If one of them puts hands on the other one, that guy just lost the interview. He created for a great segment, and he added for us to want to see the fight. That's very different. When Ilia and Paddy come face to face and they have a war of the words, what ultimately leads to one guy touching the other one, in this case it was a simple push, but what leads to a guy punching or fighting or whatever happens is when he doesn't like how the words are going. He won't turn to fighting until he loses talking. If talking's going well, he'll keep talking. Countries will do this. They'll call it diplomacy. But that's a fancy word for we're going to verbally fight. I'm going to verbally try to scare and intimidate you. I am only going to send my troops in when I lose that battle because you have verbally threatened and intimidated me better. Now, I only tell you that because while a small deal, it was still the deal. That's what we were trying to figure out in that moment. Which one of them can stay composed? Which one of them, as the build to this fight begins to come, which one of them is going to lose their temper first? And this isn't the first time by Ilia, it's the second. They shared a stage at a press conference. And Ilia got up, left his chair, and came towards Paddy. Paddy stayed seated. I'm only sharing with you that Ilia did that because there was an anger and he couldn't take it anymore. And I just find that compelling. I mean, I must just tell you as a fan, and yeah, there's a WWE angle to it. Sure there is. But I felt like it was a treat as a viewer. We weren't owed a face-off between them. We weren't owed an interview between them. That wasn't part of the deal when we pushed the button. We ended up getting that. I felt like it was a treat. And it's a treat that we've been spoiled to as recently as the last production where Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison came together. And that close to seemingly organic moment, even if a well-placed spot in the crowd, is going to lead to the biggest women's fight of all time. It's a very big deal. We got to see it on this pay-per-view twice. We got to see it when Van came face-to-face with Pantoja. And Van didn't know what to do. He wasn't expected to be in that moment. He didn't know what to do. And it was still a good moment. So then when you have Paddy that knows exactly what to do, and Ilia who knows exactly what to do, I just thought it was awesome. And I share with you, Dana goes to the press conference, and Dana said, hey, first off, that never should have happened. And the question that teed up Dana to say that, I think it was by John Morgan, it might have been Kevin Iole, but they asked him, is that the fight you're going to do next? You got a lot of options, but is that the direction that you're now going to go? And Dana came right in and said, hey, and I'm going to change Dana's words this isn't verbatim, but I'll get you real close. He said, hey, that never should have happened. Kind of meaning, before you think that build a fight, I strike the jury to remove that from memory. That should not have happened. And I want you to look at it as though that did not happen. So had that not happened, what do you believe the right next fight would be? Because that's how I'm going to look at it. Now, I just changed Dana's words, but I'm getting the point to you. Because why do you think he said that? He's never said it before. And I have a guess. And it's just a guess. But in the UFC, it doesn't matter what side you're on. If you're with the office, if you're with the 1099, it doesn't make any bit of difference. If you are with the UFC, there is no cultural policy that trumps do say, which means you do whatever you say. That comes before show up early and leave late. That comes before make sure your profits exceed your expenditures. The number one cultural policy set forth by Dana White himself is you do whatever you say you're going to do. And I do not know this. If a promise was made to Arman Tsarukyan, it will not be broken. If a promise was made of be patient, you missed out on Islam, he's gone, we'll get you back in the rotation, we'll get you as close as we can, which is a backup fight. Guys don't want to train and go through whole training camps for partial pay in a backup position, but if you do that, we will then make sure you get the next shot. If those words were set, and that is a very likely, or at least a very, very realistic and possible scenario, if that was done, that will be honored. And there was a time where this got tested. And it was Lorenzo himself stepped in on a deal. And Lorenzo's objective that day was to get Gustafsson to agree to a short notice fight against Rumble. But Gustafsson was the number one contender, supposedly going to fight for a world championship. So now he's going to go risk it all against a nightmare in Rumble. Rest his soul. Lorenzo says, hey, however that match goes, you'll fight for the title next. Told him that. And Rumble caught Gus, and Gus went down. Gus lost the fight. He got up and was the number one contender. And sure enough, he went and fought for a world championship, of which he possibly should have won. All right. So I just want you to know there is a little bit of a past to this. It probably would have been, if we were to guess, difficult to get Tsarukyan to agree to be a backup fighter, considering he was just the number one contender and then put in like this weird purgatory. He probably would have asked for something, of which the one thing to offer a guy that's already rich is the one thing that he wants, which is a title fight. Like that's very possible. And I have to leave it at that word. I got to use if and possible because I don't know. But there was some reason that a little bit of water was put on that notion. And the biggest thing that I would offer to the UFC to keep in mind is that Artem's next fight and Paddy's next fight can be world championships. It would just involve one waiting for the other. And if you didn't have them wait, and you were going to fight him and you were going to go by the rankings, whoever gets Ilia, the other one, if we're just going by the page here, would default into Gaethje. But Gaethje's made it very clear, I'm not going to take that fight. So, if that's the case, you take him up on that offer to not do the fight, it's a very easy story to tell. It's a very easy segue. And I don't think we could look up and down the roster and find anybody else where taking the risk of losing one of your contenders would be worth it. But of course, if Artem was to fight Ilia next and Artem got over on him, now you can't do Paddy versus Ilia and do it for the belt, right? Like anywhere you go, you run into a conflict. But there most certainly is a way to make both things possible. Let's see how it plays out. I do believe that the rankings matter. I do believe your success matters. I do believe being a backup fighter matters. I think those things matter. But you had better believe when I tell you a mandate of the masses matters possibly more. And the masses are pretty clear right now on what they want next for Ilia.